For this video, we are going to be going over real-world equations. So, we're going to start with this table that gives you a bunch of different words that we can use to stand in for our operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Also words that can mean the equal symbol and words that can be used for a variable. So I want you to pause this video right now and copy this table down into your notes. All right, now that you've copied down the table, let's look at some of these words. So for addition, we have some of these that should look familiar, like plus, add, sum, more, increase. But also some that might be a little unfamiliar, like total, altogether, saves, makes. Anytime we see one of these words, we're most likely going to be doing addition. Similarly, the words in these three columns can always be used for subtraction, multiplication, and division. The equal to symbol can be represented by is, equal to, same as, results in, these sort of things. And our variable can be represented by a number. And then when you're being asked, like what, how much, how many, these sort of words will cue you in to using the variable. So we're going to use these in just a moment to write equations. So here's our procedure. So our procedure is simply to first define our variable, figure out what it is that we're being asked. And our variable is always going to stand for what we're trying to solve. Then we're going to write an equation to model our situation, and then we're going to solve that equation. So let's start by looking at question number 1. So example 1 says, at his job, Tony makes $300 per week plus $15 per hour in overtime. If Tony made $450 this week, how many hours of overtime did he work? So our first step is to define our variable. And we do that by looking at what we're being asked. So if we read this last sentence, it says, how many hours of overtime did he work? So since that's what we're being asked, our variable, we're going to use h for hours of overtime, because that's what we're trying to figure out. So now we need to write ourselves an equation. When we write our equation, we want to take what we're given up here and turn it into math symbols. So we know we have $300 per week, and he's only going to be working 1 week, so that's just going to be $300. And then he's making $15 per hour. And if we go back to our chart, we see that per, well, actually, this has it in division, but that's actually the wrong place. That should be over here in multiplication. Because if we see $15 per hour, that's 15 times the number of hours. So, if we want to write an equation, we can say that Tony's making $300 plus $15 times the number of hours of overtime he works, and we know that that's equal to $450. So we got that from the $300 he makes in the week plus $15 times the number of hours of overtime, which we don't know yet, and that's going to give us the $450 that Tony makes. So we need to solve this. Our first step is to subtract 300 on both sides. This is just a two-step equation. All right, if we subtract 300 on both sides, we get 15h equals 150. Then to get rid of that 15, we divide both sides by 15. And we get h equals 10. So Tony works 10 hours of overtime. And that will get him his $450. So all we did was define our variable, write an equation, and then solve that equation. So let's look at a second example. Example 2 says, Diana has $300 in her bank account, and she is saving $75 every month. Kobe has $700 in his account, and he spends $25 every month. After how many months will they have the same amount of money? So once again, our first step is to define our variable. It says, after how many months? So since we know it's how many months, we can say that M stands for the number of months. And now we need to write an equation. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write an expression for each one of our people, Diana and Kobe. We know Diana has $300 in her bank account right now, and she is saving $75 every month. So we need to think, saving, is that adding money to her account or is that subtracting money from her account? Well, if she's saving, that means every month she's putting more money into her account. So that is going to be adding to her account. It's going to be a plus sign. And $75 every month, well, at 1 month she'll have $75 in there. 2 months, $150. 3 months, $225. What we're doing is we're doing 75 times 1, 75 times 2, 75 times 3. Or we can say that that is 75 times M. By the same idea, Kobe has $700 in account, and he spends $25 every month. Spending is subtracting. 25 every month is 25 times M. So what we get is we get the following equation. Diana can be represented by 300 plus 75M, because she's adding $75 every month. Kobe is represented by 700 minus 25M, because he's subtracting 25 every month. And it says that we want to know after how many months will they have the same amount of money. Same is what gives us our equal sign. All right, so now we need to solve this equation. We want to start by getting all of our variables on both sides. I'm going to add 25M on both sides. That gives me 300 plus 100M equals 700. Next, I'm going to subtract 300 on both sides. That gives me 100M equals 400. Finally, I divide both sides by 100. And I get M equals 4. So it will take 4 months for them to have the exact same amount of money. So once again, I just set up my equation, and then I solved it. All right, let's look at our final example, example number 3. It says Xavier and Luis are baking cakes. Xavier has made 2 cakes so far, and he can make 2 every hour. Luis has made 4 so far, and he makes 3 out every hour. After how long will they have made 21 cakes altogether? So we're being asked after how long, and we see that we're in terms of hours here. So let's use H for hours. And I'm going to write an equation or an expression for each one of our 2 people. All right? So Xavier already has 2 cakes made, and he makes 2 every hour. So that's 2H. So we can say that Xavier's expression is 2 plus 2H. Luis has 4, and he makes 3 every hour. So that's like 3H. So his expression looks like 4 plus 3H. And what we know we're doing is it says all together. All together means that we're taking all the cakes Xavier's made, all the cakes Luis has made, and we're adding them. And we want a total of 21. We're adding them together because this word all together. We're taking the number Xavier has, the number Luis has, we're putting them all together. So our first step in this equation is to combine our like terms. If we look, 2 and 4 gives us 6, and 2 and 3 gives us 5H. So we get the equation 6 plus 5H equals 21. I'm going to start by subtracting 6 from both sides. I get 5H equals 15. Divide both sides by 5. And we get our answer of H equals 3. So it will take exactly 3 hours for Luis and Xavier to have made 21 cakes all together. So I'm going to leave you with this try-it problem. It says, Steven starts out with $400. He spends $12 every time he goes to the movies. If he has $280 left in his account, how many movies has he seen?